over the last few years, e-commerce has really skyrocketed. So before you had only a couple of platforms to choose from, and now you have a lot more of those platforms, and the platforms are also a lot better. So gone are the days when you had to try to figure out things on your Yahoo store, and you really were limited by technology. If you weren't a coder, you basically couldn't be in e-commerce at all only a few years ago. Nowadays, you have all these platforms that have catered to small businesses and different e-commerce merchants that are just light years ahead of what the platforms used to be. So WooCommerce and Shopify are the two most popular e-commerce platforms in the market right now, and we are going to take a look at those. They are very different in their basic functionalities and in their basic idea as well. So WooCommerce generally is self-hosted or always self-hosted, and Shopify is something that they host themselves. So merchants often ask me, which platform of these two is better for my business? That's why in this video, we're covering the pros and cons of both WooCommerce and Shopify. Hey, it's Samuel Larsen here. I run an agency called growgurus.com, and in this channel, we go over e-commerce concepts, conversion optimization concepts, basically concepts that you can do and implement yourself to better monetize your existing traffic. But back to the video. Now that you're watching this video, it does mean that you understand the power of e-commerce and how it can make a big difference in your business. Maybe you only run on e-commerce. Maybe you have a traditional business as well. But we are going to focus on these two leading platforms because it's a big choice whether you choose one or the other. So WooCommerce and Shopify, both of them in general are excellent choices. I don't have anything against either one. It's just about choosing that particular right one that fits your specific use case. So Shopify has been here for a long time. It was founded by 3 Canadians actually, who experienced how difficult it can be to run an online store. And this was already back in 2004. So it's been in development for 16 years actually. It sounds like a relatively new thing, but it's been around for a while. So this frustration that they were experiencing, that led them to create Shopify back in 2006. And it was a decision that turned out it changed the whole e-commerce game forever. So for WooCommerce then, the process itself was a bit different. They started as a themes plugin released by WordPress back in 2009. And then just like slowly, bit by bit, they evolved into what we know today as WooCommerce. So both of them have been these gradual improvements over time. Now, I'd say each of these platforms has the characteristics and functions that can satisfy most needs when it comes to e-commerce. So if you don't have specific needs, you could really go with either one. But stay tuned here because we're going to go and explore them further here. And then we can see exactly which one is the better fit for your business and your particular use case. Let's start with Shopify. And let's go over the good parts of Shopify first. Now the number one good part with Shopify that everybody likes is how easy it is to get set up with Shopify. So the build and setup time are really short. And with Shopify, you can just start building your online shop from scratch right after you basically start a free trial. So those are, of course, big benefits for a business looking to prove their concept or looking to make their first sales online, because that reduces the investment of time needed. And also, as a big upside, if you don't have the technical skills to create the store page by page yourself, Shopify provides you very good themes to choose, and then they are very customizable as well. So you can choose a look for your store that already looks good, and then you can just go and tweak it a little bit. There's a lot of theme options on the Shopify store, and they are generally very high quality. And that leads to my next point. Design. So, with e-commerce, people are coming to your site for the first time. So aesthetics are very important, and having aesthetics that are pleasing are also very important, of course. Because otherwise people might just come, browse it a little bit and see like, okay, doesn't look that good, I don't trust the store, and quit. And Shopify is aware of that. So they have put a lot of focus on making the themes good and making them look good as well. So Shopify platform offers you 73 templates at least that you can then customize. And it also provides you with an option of premium themes that are similarly customizable, but sometimes a little bit more advanced. So if you have the budget, you can buy a theme from a custom developer, and then you have the starting point for your store basically. A pleasing design and outlook will most likely already help you get started, and also get started fast. So that's a really good thing about the theme store. And in general, I'd say investing into a good storefront is a great long-term investment in general, since you don't need to keep updating the look of your store every couple of years like you might have to do on some of the other platforms. Next pro of Shopify is hosting and security. So when it comes to safety, Shopify takes the lead. They take safety really seriously, and they have this nice plug and play safety solution basically. The platform includes the hosting services that will keep your site safe, and then you can focus on selling your products yourself. On top of that, the Shopify platform has an SSL certificate, so that's the so-called secure sockets layer, which is the standard on all e-commerce stores these days. And it's also payment card industry data security standard compliant. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's an important thing as well. So with those, you can guarantee that your customers' information will be safe, and you will be able to process those credit and debit card payments from day one, and you won't have these security things or issues stopping you. Then sales features. That's the next pro. Shopify offers the essentials inbuilt tools that will help your store go the extra mile basically. So, for example, it allows your customers to recover the abandoned cart. So this helps a lot because it's crucial in any store sales process to be able to recover this. Also, you can then link the site with other selling channels. So you can easily get started with Facebook, Google Shopping, etc. So Shopify itself, they're saying that they are not just a place to host an e-commerce store, but rather they are multi-channel commerce platform. So that's Shopify, but it does have its drawbacks. And the biggest thing people usually complain about is the price. And as I mentioned in the first benefit, you'll have to subscribe to Shopify to start using the services. It's a paid service, and it will be a recurring monthly fixed cost. And on top of this, you will also, usually at least, have at least a few different apps on your store as well. So if you run a small business, for say, it will be somewhat of an investment at first, but once you start making sales, hopefully that will offset the investment. Say monthly plans start from $29, covers your e-commerce store. You get 24-hour customer service, hosting, and of course the option to link to other channels as mentioned. Then another thing that is a bit of a con is the plugins and integrations. This doesn't necessarily mean that Shopify's plugins are bad, but you will often end up running quite a few plugins, and you can't really run the store perfectly without them. So you are a bit dependent on it. And this has gotten better over the years with Shopify adding native features, but you still need a few plugins to run your store well. And also, WooCommerce has pretty good SEO plugins, so that is in comparison a bit lacking in Shopify. Then customization and functionality. If you have a very specific needs, Shopify can be a bit inflexible. So for example, if you are selling wholesale or you have some functionalities like subscriptions, you can do these functionalities in Shopify, but at its core, it doesn't do it really well. So when you want to do something a bit outside of those core functionalities, it can be a little bit of a hassle to do them. Okay, let's look at the good sides of WooCommerce. First of all, the biggest Shopify con was the price. The biggest WooCommerce advantage is the price. It is a free to install plugin, and although you do need to pay for some of the more advanced features, each one of them is also reasonably priced. So it is good for the wallet. And one thing you need is of course hosting. So Shopify, it is self-hosted. So hosting comes with the package. But WooCommerce is a platform where you need to provide the hosting. So you'll need to buy that separately. Then plugins and integrations. Let's talk about those because WooCommerce being a WordPress plugin itself, it does rely mostly on plugins. And the platform's plugin options are of course very diverse. There's a lot of options, and that makes it easy for people who have a WordPress site. But you are reliant on those plugins. Additionally, the SEO plugins are very, very great for WooCommerce and WordPress in general. And that's something essential to boost your site on Google search. With this, Shopify doesn't really have that great of an SEO plugins. It's something that Shopify generally is more of a paid traffic platform, saying it very broadly. Then blocking options. So WooCommerce offers the benefit of turning a blog site into an online store. So you can start getting that traction before you even worry about the online store part. And the great advantage of this is that if you want to engage more with your customers, you can start with that blog and then turn it into a store. If you want to have merely an e-commerce site, no blog, Shopify will often be a better option because it will just do that. Shopify does have plugin functionalities as well, but it is mainly focused on e-commerce. So it is very, very focused in that way. Some of the drawbacks of WooCommerce, big one is hosting and security. So WooCommerce can be secure, but you'll have to purchase plugins for this task, and including installing all the security updates by yourself, and it can be a target for hackers. Something that becomes potentially a nightmare if you have a lot of traffic yourself, and then you have to worry about this going forward. Another thing that is often a bit of a drawback is setup and building time. So Shopify is simpler, and contrary to Shopify, setting your site on Woo requires more effort. So Shopify has all those themes that you can choose from, and WooCommerce is more customized. So if you want to build your shop on this platform, you'll need to invest some time, and you'll need to learn to tweak things a little bit. So it won't be quite as easy. The good thing is you can sort of let your creativity flow, and you often have a bit more options than with Shopify, especially when it comes to the back-end stuff. Then design, something we talked about on the Shopify section, but Shopify offers you great option for themes. WooCommerce offers you a good selection of pre-designed themes as well, but these are mostly limited to the original design, and they are not designed specifically for an online store. So they tend to be general themes with an online store add-on. In a sense, this can be an advantage if you are not very experienced with web pages themselves. And perhaps you also want to save time in setting up your site. But you'll need to be a bit innovative on this part in the long run. Now, next up is scalability. It's a good chance that you'll have some spikes in your traffic. And those traffic spikes can be quite problematic to your servers and to your hosting in general. With Shopify, you won't have to worry if things are getting busy because it won't crash, but WooCommerce might. And it is an additional hassle to think, okay, will this crash or not based on this traffic spike that I'm getting, or will it run? So some of the biggest online stores run on Shopify, and they have proven that their servers can handle it, even let's say on the Black Friday busiest periods, where they're getting just loads and loads of traffic. With WooCommerce, it always depends on your hosting, and if it goes down, it can be difficult to get up. So let's summarize then WooCommerce versus Shopify. I'd say these platforms do provide a bit of a different way to achieve the same goal. Your goal is to set up an online store. However, you need to be careful with which one you choose, because changing these platforms is not going to be easy. You can't just take your Shopify theme and put it on WooCommerce. And there are things that make it easier, but it's still better to be careful about choosing the platform and making sure that you choose the platform that suits your business and the needs of that business the best. If you are a blogger, or let's say you're a very small business and plan to just start selling online without much of a financial risk, then WooCommerce is a great platform for you. You can get started pretty easily, and then you can run that until you start getting some more traction. With Shopify, it's basically very good for that e-commerce functionality. WooCommerce can be cheaper, and that's a good benefit of that. But for everyone else, I'd say that Shopify is the way to go. And with Shopify, it's also good to consider that it is developed by a company making profit. So it is a platform that is future-proof, and with any kind of platform, you are making a bet for the future. You don't need to only consider how will it be today, but rather, okay, if this business becomes successful, how will this platform be in, let's say, 2024 or even beyond that? How will it work on a day-to-day basis? Will it be easy for me to do all the different integrations, all the payment providers, shipping integrations, everything like that? So it's worth investing that time into the research I think big kudos to you for watching the video so far. And that shows to me that you are somebody who's serious about this. Now, as a serious person, serious e-commerce person, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I have great videos coming up every Thursday. Like the video if you watched it this far, and you can double tap the dislike button if you didn't. And take care. See you in the next video.